we mentioned in our press statement this morning, we have a very brief update for you and possibly to take some questions on one of the matters that we mentioned this morning. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the presence of some persons who are Honorable Henry Quartey is a Deputy Minister for the Interior here as well. Commissioner of Police Mami Yatiwa Adudankwa is the Director General CID. Thank you for being with us. Also with us this afternoon, DSP Samuel Azugu is a commander at the National Security SWAT team. Thank you for being with us this afternoon, sir. We're happy to have with us Deputy Information Minister Pius Hajide, Deputy Information Minister Nanamado Kuasiama Ejay, and DSP Kwesi Fori, who is the ACP. Kwesi, hey, I have reduced your rank. He is the head of operations at the Accra Command, and I see your team at the back there. Thank you all for being with us. This afternoon's brief is very simple. As confirmed earlier today, national security operatives led an operation which comprised a number of security agencies to rescue the 2 Canadian women who were abducted in the Ashanti region on the 4th of June. The operation involved the CID of the Ghana Police Service, the Bureau of National Investigations, the Special Weapons and Tactics Unit of the National Security Council, and Defense Intelligence. No foreign assets were involved in the operation. I repeat, no foreign assets were involved in the operation. Now, since the day of the abduction of these 2 women, security operatives have been working their contacts with the hope of rescuing them. Intelligence gathering efforts enabled the security agencies to zero in on persons who were associated with the incident. At 1900 hours on June 11, 2019, the first arrest was made in connection with this incident. By 21:15 hours on that same day, one of the persons who was an accomplice or believed to be an accomplice directly involved in this incident was also arrested by the joint team running this operation. A local Ghanaian contact who was providing harboring for the kidnappers was apprehended around 20:45 hours that same night, leading to the arrest of other accomplices. The holding place of the victims was subsequently surrounded just before 5 a.m. this morning, and by 5:15 a.m., the joint team had breached the premises with the hope of rescuing the women. Gunshots were fired from within the premises, but the brief we have is that it took about 25 minutes to complete this operation. At the end of the operation, the 2 Nigerians who were holding the women had been subdued, and a 3rd Nigerian, believed to be the leader of the gang, was arrested later at a separate location. At the end, and currently, 5 Ghanaians and 3 Nigerians are in custody for this incident. One of the suspects is reported to have sustained minor injuries. Other investigations and possible arrests are still ongoing. The victims have been flown to Accra, are currently in Accra. They have been in contact with the Canadian authorities and are undergoing the necessary evaluations following a traumatic incident like this. Preliminary indications that we have is that they are fine. Our thanks go to the Ghana Police Service, particularly the CID and the Ashanti Regional Police Command. Our thanks go to Defense Intelligence, to the Bureau of National Investigations, and to the Special Weapons and Tactics Unit and other units of the National Security Council Secretariat, some of which we may not mention at this point in time. We also want to thank the media who, in the first hours of this incident, when the security agencies reached out and asked for a backout in the first hours to enable the preliminary works to take place, which has led to this successful operation. The media houses that supported and complied, we want to say a very big thank you to you. Now, we further urge the media, commentators, and the public to avoid speculation, to be circumspect in their commentary as well, as there are ongoing operations on similar matters that could be compromised depending on the kind of commentary that people rush to put out there. May I repeat that? The security agencies want to urge the media, commentators, and the public to avoid speculation and be circumspect in their commentary, as there are ongoing operations on similar matters that could be compromised depending on the kind of commentary that is put out there. Ghana's security agencies continue to assure the general public, including Ghanaians and potential travelers, that Ghana is safe and they have what it takes to deal with any criminal enterprises that may spring up in the country. This is a brief we have for you. We are very grateful. I'll do a quick tree translation like we always do, and then if there are a few questions, we'll take it. Bamboo Ku Batain National Security.
Bottom line, in his conclusion, Ghana is safe and has what it takes to keep all of us safe. That's Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, the information minister, there with what he's calling a brief of what happened. And indeed it is a brief, so he gives us the pointers of all of the things that have happened. MFA is still here with me. MFA, I'm just going to go through all that Kojo has said. First of all, and the point he makes quite emphatically, that there was no foreign asset involved in the operation. He says that intelligence gathering efforts by our own security agencies led to the rescue of the girls. He spoke about the fact that there was a local, which is Ghana Contacts, that was providing what he calls harboring. So essentially providing space for them to keep these girls. That person was arrested at 8:45 yesterday. He spoke about the fact that the holding place for these girls, the final holding place for these girls as of 5 a.m. was surrounded, and as of 5:15 the premises was breached, and you know, it didn't happen smoothly. There were some gunshots as well. 2 Nigerians who were holding them, he says, were picked up, and after those 2 were picked up, one person who is also a Nigerian, suspected to be the leader of this gang, was also picked up at a different location. That makes it 3, and that is what we've been reporting all along, that 3 persons, 3 Nigerians have been arrested. He says that 5 Ghanaians and 3 Nigerians are at the moment in their custody. That actually puts the number at 8. One of the suspects, he says, sustained minor injuries. Perhaps we'll get some more clarification on that. Perhaps that person is not a part of the 5, is in hospital receiving treatment. But regarding the victims, the girls who have been rescued, he said that they've been handed over to the Canadian Embassy. They're being evaluated, looking at the traumatic experience they have had. And then MFA, to the point that the issue that we raised about who is taking credit for what. He says that he's thanking the police, the CID, Defense Intelligence, Special Weapons and Taxes Unit, the BNI, and others he said he wouldn't mention. And then finally they are calling, you know, for calling on media and other pundits to be circumspect in their commentary, because it would compromise ongoing operations. MFA, the point that we made, first of all, about who did what in this has come up quite strongly in the brief that we're getting from the ministry.
And it raises a number of questions, though, because if he says that no foreign assets were involved, it raises the question as to what then were the team from the Canadian Embassy doing in Kumasi? What were they doing with the team, the police team there in Kumasi?
Well, you could say that those are CIM, as you see it. You could say that those are people from the embassy. They are not necessarily security people, but which means that we need clarity on this.
Yes, we need need clarity on that. That's one of the questions that I'm hoping that will come up at that press conference, that what role did the embassy play? Because we know that they were in the forefront as well. We knew that the IGP went there with a team from the Canadian embassy. They were helping with investigations and all. So we need to know what role they played. So if no foreign assets were involved, what were the Canadians doing there in Kumasi? Was it just to be there? What were they doing there?
Perhaps he wants to explain to us what he means by no foreign assets involved. Because usually when you hear assets, you know that these are individuals who help in operations like these, security operations. So
it can include weaponry as well.
So assets is mainly
not just the human resource.
Yeah, mainly you'd associate that with persons who helped. So perhaps we need to find more information on what does it mean by no foreign assets. But you have questions on your mind, MFA, as to what then the Canadians what role they played in Kumasi. But do we want to talk about the figures, the figures that have been bandied around? And people have said that, why didn't you just organize this press conference earlier in the morning, provide the information?
Because everything was done by 5:15 from what he's telling us. So 25 minutes operation, he says, from where where the holding was and how they surrounded the place, where they were harboring the people and all, up until that. He says 25 minutes and the operation was done. So then why are we waiting till now for the press conference to be held? And we know about the names that have come up, Seidu, Imba's name. I'm sure all these issues will come up at the press conference. We need some answers to that. Who are these suspects? We need to know. Who
are they? That's the question on the floor at the moment. So we're going back to the ministry, the press conference. We understand that questions are being taken. Let's see if we get the answers there.
Much effort and attention in rescuing the Canadians, more than that the TRD girls. They are saying that the IGP was in Kumasi during the weekends, but when the TRD issue happened, the IGP has not been there. So we want to know the update on the TRD girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Arthur Mensah from Ghana News Agency. First, I want to find out the location where they were arrested. I want to know the health conditions of the victims and whether they are in the hospital. Then, when would the culprit be put before court and the charges that will be preferred against them? Thank you.
You said you want to know the location, the situation, and then when when the persons will be put before court. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Nana Poku from Daily Searchlight. Honorable Minister for National Security, Honorable Kanapa, you agree with me that abduction and kidnapping has never been the case in Ghana. And we are also being told that some rebels are threatening to come to this country for their own activities. How safe are we? And what are the measures you have put in place as a national security boss or minister to ensure that some of these things are curtailed or they are brought to an end? And then my second question goes to Mamitiwa. Madam, if you look at Facebook, you are always there. People are saying that you should resign. People are saying that you have not done enough. People are saying that you are giving them false information. I mean, want to find out from you, why did you come out with a statement saying that the girls will be found? If you did say that, I don't know for sure. That's what people are saying. And we are not seeing them. What are you doing to make sure that these girls are rescued? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Sabu Mubarak from ISD. Mr. Minister, there are some reports in a section of the media saying that the national security relied on satellite data provided by the Canadians, and then they also relied on some Canadian intelligence to rescue the Canadians. Can you clarify that for us?
Okay, so let me respond to this first set and then I'll come back to you. No, those reports that national security relied on satellite data from the Canadians is not correct. As I've mentioned, no foreign assets were involved in this operation. There's another question about how safe are we, to the National Security Minister, and one to the CID boss, what are you doing? I'll take it in two parts. I have their mandate to speak, and that's why I'll take it in two parts. As I've mentioned, there are ongoing operations on similar matters. and the security apparatus encourages that we should be circumspect in our reportage and our public conversation because it has the potential of compromising some of the ongoing operations. I'll tie that to the first question about, is there more emphasis on Canadians or foreigners than on Ghanaians? No. The equal level of attention is being given to all of these crimes, regardless of which national is involved. But as has been mentioned, the security agencies require a lot of information and space so that they can do their intelligence gathering and deal with these matters. And we are hopeful that we can all support them by ensuring that they get that information and that space, and then they can get to the bottom of these matters. Reference to the question, how safe are we? A couple of days ago, I think in a statement that we issued from this ministry on behalf of the National Security Ministry, they have just finished an appraisal, and they have come to the conclusion that there are no imminent threats, no actionable intelligence, and that the risk and crime profiles of our country have not changed, and their men and their necessary logistics and equipment are available to them and on the ground to ensure that our safety is upheld. And I think that that position between the time we put out that statement and now has not changed. Where were they rescued? Kenyasi, in a suburb of Kumasi in the Ashanti region. What is their situation? As I've mentioned, they have been brought to Accra. They are currently going through the necessary, may I say, engagements with doctors and psychologists, etc., because you do agree that this is a very traumatic experience for them. Those are responses we have to these first set of questions. One, yeah, Melvin, 2, 3, yes, sir. Yes, sir, go ahead, sir. Okay,
I have 2 questions. One is a bit linked to the question asked about the tardy girls. I just want to know the security measures or tactics that were deployed in rescuing these Canadian girls.
You want to know the tactics deployed?
How the way and the rescue of these girls were successful, and then the security have been hunting and searching for the tardy girls, and they have not been successful. And then 2, recently the police came out with a statement inviting the chairman of the National Democratic Congress for the second time, and then there were reports that some of the suspects so far arrested cited him as the mastermind, the alleged mastermind behind the kidnappings. So now I'm wondering, the alleged mastermind behind the kidnapping has been granted bail yesterday out, and then those who are part or suspected to be kidnappers are going to be beyond police cell. If Samuel Fosu Ampofo was to be an ordinary person, would the police grant him bail so swiftly in a day, or because he's a politician?
My name is Francis Kokucha. I report for Associated Press.
Yeah, if you can just go directly into, yes, sir.
Yeah. In all this, was there any mention of ransom?
Thank you. Yes, sir. So 1, 2, and then we'll go for another set.
Thank you very much. My name is Anas Saidu. I report for CTFM. Briefly, we understand there was another arrest in connection with the kidnapped tardy girls. Can you give us some updates on it, what has happened over there?
Okay.
And secondly, on the identities of the 5 Ghanaians and the 3 Nigerians who were arrested. There are initial reports connecting some or one of them to a particular group of people. Can you give us the identities of the suspects, the 8 suspects in custody, and whether they actually are linked to any pro-government group? Thank you very much.
Yes, so we'll take the last one at the back.
Thank you. My name is Mark Solofori for the Chronicle newspaper. Please, you mentioned that there were gunshots fired at the premises. I would want to know which side started, whether the police or the corporates. Thank you.
So let me respond. Melvin, I can't go into too much detail on the various tactics that were used by the security agencies. The outline I can give is what I've given you currently. Associated Press, no ransom was paid. No ransom was paid. No ransom was discussed in this matter. Our security agencies followed the earlier intelligence reports, did their work, and then got to the conclusion of this matter. No ransom was discussed or paid between our security agencies and these persons. Now, there's a question about one of the persons arrested in Togo, as reported last week, that is believed to be in connection with the Tadi girls matter. I think because the story has come out, and indeed today he's been remanded by the courts, yes, we can confirm that. Ordinarily, the preference would have been that all of these ongoing operations are kept quiet, because as you keep talking about it and publishing things about it, you keep alerting other people that the security agencies may be onto. But because that is out, yes, we can confirm that one. But that is also evidence that the security agencies are working on that and other related matters. That's all we can say. And like I have said, there are active operations going on, and therefore we encourage all ourselves to be circumspect, and you provide information if you have it. They have demonstrated that they can do a good job. Provide information and let them do that good job. The gunshots, as we understand it, first came from within the premises. I think in the outline that I gave, I mentioned that as well. As I mentioned, the security agencies are still ongoing, tidying up on this particular operation. Yes, some arrests have been made in connection with this. We have no brief that says that this person or that person is associated with this church or that religion or this political party at this point in time. We do not have any such brief that associates any of them with any political party at this point in time, or with any church, or with. I've heard some people saying this one belongs to this football club, that one belongs to that football club. We don't have any such brief as we speak to you now. Let the authorities do their investigation and prefer the necessary charges that they have to prefer against these persons. We'll take a final round of questions, and then we'll wrap up. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then we'll wrap up.
My name is Nashika Caesar. I work with City FM, CCTV. My question is, what role specifically did the Canadian team play in the rescue of the girls? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cliff Ekufu, right for the Ghanaian Times. My question is, do we anticipate rounding up more people in connection with the Canadian kidnapping, or the 8? The 8 we have arrested sums it up for us.
Come again, I didn't get your question well.
I want to find out if we are looking at arresting more people in connection with the arrest of the kidnapping of the Canadian girls, or the 8 we have arrested, the 3 Ghanaians, the 3 Nigerians, and then the 5 Ghanaians, sums it up for the operation.
Yes, thank you very much. I would want to know, there was a mention of a suspect that's injured. I don't know if it's in direct connection with this Canadian operation, and does it change the total number of people involved in this? Does it still remain 8? And then on the issue of how safe we are, if we say that there's no actionable or threat,
actionable intelligence
against that. What is the assurance, seeing what is happening in neighboring countries? It's very difficult to accept that, and so would want some more clarity on that. And then, just finally, how soon are these guys going to be arraigned or prosecuted? Thank you.
Okay. Bless. I'll give you the final question and then we'll wrap up. We don't want to take too much of your time. Okay. There will be subsequent briefs as there is more information, but after this we will leave it here today. Yes, sir.
My name is Bless Oga. I work with Class 91.3 FM. Obviously, we are not in ordinary times, and as we have some members from national security with us, are we likely to experience a change in the security setup across the country?
What does that mean? What does that mean? As in change of uniforms or what? What does that mean?
Are we likely to have snap checks, some border setup, Are we going to have new arrangements going forward that the nation...
Visibly?
Yes.
Okay, visibly new arrangements.
Are we going to see some changes?
Very well.
And then in April as well, the CID boss told us at an official press conference that they know the whereabouts of the kidnapped girls. Do we have any updates ever since that press conference? Thank you.
Yes, I have an update I'll give you. What specific role did the Canadians who were reported to be in town play? It is our understanding that this Canadian team was in town to explore ways by which they could help in rescuing these young ladies, but that was not necessary, as our security apparatus was on the ground and had clarity on what to do. So yes, it's true, there was a Canadian team in town. They were in town, we are told, to explore ways by which they could find other ways of helping with this matter. But as we are informed, our people on the ground had clarity on what to do, and the result is what you see currently. There's a question about, do we expect more arrests? Well, it's the interrogation that will determine who the masterminds are, etc. So the interrogations are ongoing, it will determine. Does the injured person change the number of persons involved in this, and is that separate? No, it doesn't. It is one of the two Nigerians who was, may I say, apprehended at the premises where they were holding these persons, and it doesn't change the numbers. Reference to general terrorism conversations, I think Ghana has an anti-terrorism plan, a very broad one. First part of it is to prevent it. Prevention requires a high level of awareness among people so that people will report strange things that they are observing. If they observe any strange persons in their communities trying to recruit people for all sorts of enterprises. And I think already the level of awareness is coming up. You've seen people, particularly in our northern regions, reporting very small things. They see somebody in a church with something, they quickly report. They see somebody at a bar doing something funny, they report. And want to, may I say, recruit you, forgive the pun, we want to recruit you to help us continue with the public education and the public awareness creation that, yes, you're right, times all over the world are changing, and so we all need to be on the alert and quickly inform the security agencies who have proven that when they are informed, they can act. Do inform them, and whatever they need to do, they will do. We actually have some material on the anti-terrorism program, particularly the prevention side of it, and we'll do well to distribute some to you and ask you to, while you play music and do everything, find some small time and put that one out for us as well. I'm sure that's not too much to ask. How soon will these persons be arraigned before court? The Constitution is quite clear. You can only hold a person without maybe a court order or something for up to 48 hours. So the necessary legal protocols will be followed. And if there's a need to remand these persons, they'll be put before court, and a court of competent jurisdiction will do that remand as well. Should we expect visibly new changes in the security operations of this country? I'm not briefed on any such expectation. If I do get a brief of that, I'll do well to keep you updated on it. And there's a question about whether or not there's an update on the Takoradi girls. I think I mentioned earlier that, as some of you reported, which we had hoped would not have been reported, just last week, some arrests were made in connection with that. That tells you that there's an active operation ongoing there. If anybody has further information, you can please do well to make it available to the security agencies. And the same level of seriousness that they attach to all of the others that have happened recently, which they have dealt with, they are applying that same level of seriousness. Colleagues, we want to thank you, and we want to ask you to continue to be supportive of the security agencies by giving them some more information. But also, most importantly, let our citizens know that we are safe. Like everywhere else in the world, sometimes things happen.
We are safe. Our security agencies have what it takes to keep us safe. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is the information minister there, addressing the nation on the rescue of the Canadian girls here on the Pulse. Do stay with me. I'll be right back.